Alright, Internet, it's time to tackle a tough topic. Depression. To start, we'll talk about what depression is and what it is not. Let's get a marker. Green means yes, red means no. Alright, what do we have? Sadness. Is depression sadness? Technically, sadness can precipitate a depressive episode, but depression itself is not strictly sadness. Wow. Weakness. Is depression just weakness? Is depression a numbness? Is depression fully understood by science? Have we figured it out? Is depression a strong feeling of dejection? Yes. Despondency? Yes. What do those words mean? Look them up. Is depression the person's fault? Did they deserve this? Was it a result of Is depression what could be described as a neurological disorder? And a mental illness? Good. Now we know what depression is and what it is not. Here's a question. Who suffers from depression being something that's in the world? First and foremost, people who are subject to the mental illness that is depression. They suffer the most. They carry it, they are a steward of depression, they can try and manage it, oftentimes they will move out of it, but we don't fully understand how it works yet, and there isn't a clear cure. There's no easy fix for this. Who else suffers? Because it's not just the people who are actively experiencing the neurological disorder. It's also the rest of society. Because if you think about depression, it's about maybe 5 to 15% of the population will have a depressive episode at some point in their life. Some people have depression for a long time. Let's draw a pie. People love pie. There's a pie. Beautiful. Let's say that there's a piece of the pie. This is the depressed piece of the pie. Boom. Is that 5 to 15%? I don't know. It's to prove a point. So you've got a pie, and you've got a piece that's heavily affected by depression. What does this mean? This means if people are depressed, they're not as productive. They don't have the energy. They don't feel like their effort in the world is worth it. It's a huge problem for the individual, and then everyone they're on a team with, everyone who's counting on them, everyone who expects them to show up and do work, but they feel worthless. They feel depressed. It's terrible. So people who are not depressed, we still have a huge incentive to take initiative and try and confront depression as just a broad human obstacle, like diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer. These are the big threats we have in the 21st century that we haven't fully figured out yet. But it's very clear that it exists. It's a piece of the pie. And if we want the best possible human experience for as many people as we can, we gotta confront depression. We gotta admit that it's real. We gotta reach out if people experience it. We gotta own it if we have it, and figure out what we need to do to be the best steward of it that we can possibly be. Personally, I've not had a depressive episode myself. So I'm over here like, I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what that experience is like. I'm in this part of the pie. So what do? People who haven't experienced depression, do some research. Hear some stories. Read something about people who have depression, how that influences them, how they think about themselves, what their self-talk is like. If you have that positivity, if you have that energy, share it, because someone might really need it that day. If there's a friend who you think might seem a little bit down, and you really appreciate them, you think they're a fantastic human being, tell them, call them up, instant message, Facebook, whatever, contact format, face-to-face, tell them. You're legit. I'm glad you exist. I like you. I hope for your continued survival. Live long and prosper. The two main approaches to managing depression and seeking to confront it and overcome it are behavioral approaches and approaches that involve medication. Oftentimes, a multi-method approach is best. People with severe depression are usually recommended some types of medication and a behavioral strategy, so they tackle the problem from multiple sides. What are some examples of behavioral approaches? Cognitive behavioral therapy, basically creating mental steps for the person who is the steward of depression to move forward in life in some capacity, to understand what your barriers and your obstacles are, and to trudge your way through that difficult process. You have psychotherapy, you have group counseling, support groups, meditation, exercise, even playing games and just proving to yourself that you can accomplish things, you can achieve things in a virtual realm, if not a physical one. To overcome the fundamental aspects of depressive thinking, being able to create small advantages, just making that extra step than what you have done before, and gradually building up that momentum toward positivity. It's not just something where you're depressed for a long period of time and then you choose to be happy again. It's more of a momentum-based shift, where you go from having very little momentum if you're very depressed to getting a tiny bit, just gradually accelerating forward to the point that you can be up at full steam again at some point. Whether you're someone who struggles with depression or you know someone who struggles with depression, you're awesome. You're a human being, and it's tough. There's a lot of crap to deal with. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with the human body and with the human mind in this case. So be compassionate. Be compassionate toward yourself and toward other people. When they fall down, pick them up. When you fall down, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Life is a hard game. We gotta work together. Being human is pretty cool, and we can do this. We can fight depression and be strong.